Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Up Supercast Game Club. It is me, it is your host, the host of the one and only game club in the universe. The one and only Up Supercast Game Club, at least. Might be other ones. But it is me, it is Brandon here, and joining me today, and only other person joining me today, the man who picked the game for the game club himself, Noah.
Yay, me. I'm the only one that matters, really, out of all four.
We are the two most important people in the game club. Don't let anybody else, tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
So you picked the game this week. Unfortunately, no Saf or Will this week. They had, I guess, other stuff to do, and they weren't able to play the game. I don't know if they played it at all.
Seth said he played a little bit, but I don't know how far he got. It's a shame too. Right. It was an experience.
I agree. It is a shame so I actually picked Noah, why don't you tell us what game that we played?
Oh, we picked Shadow of Destiny, or in Europe it's called Shadow of Memories. It was a PS2 game, and it's a fairly short game. You can beat it in like 4 to 5 hours. But if you want to get like all the different endings, and it ups the hours a little bit, but still it's quite short compared to like today's games, especially.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it is. So yeah, like you said, it was Shadows of Memories, or Shadows of Destiny in North America. It's an adventure game developed by Konami and also published by Konami back when Konami was still okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally released for the PlayStation 2 in 2001. Later ported to the Xbox, only in Europe, though. The Xbox version never came out in North America or Japan. And Microsoft Windows in 2002. There was a PlayStation portable version that was released in Japan in 2009, in North America in 2010, I actually did a little research, and I guess that version, the PSP version, has different voice actors, which is weird. I kind of want to see a playthrough of that. To see what the different voice actors sound like.
Yeah, because I mean, with this game, you can tell how old it is from like everything, like for how it looks, the visuals, how it sounds, the voice acting.
Right, the voice acting it has charm. It's not great, but it makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's like you could tell like the voice actors tried, but they had no idea how the characters were expressing themselves.
Yeah, from 2001 was kind of like this. So this 2001 is kind of an early PlayStation, like early game in this, era of games, or this generation of consoles. So I mean, it's still.
I think they did a good, decent job for that time, at least.
Yeah, I mean, this was before fully voice acted cinematic games were like the common. Right?
Yeah.
So like voice acting in games was, for a huge script, was, I feel like, generally still new at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But so it was, it's a little jarring to hear the voice acting in this game, but it's got charm because you can tell they're trying, and it's kind of funny at some points with some of the character interactions, especially with the NPCs, for me at least. So it's it. I picked this game up for $13. So it was actually pretty cheap. Unfortunately, the version I bought came with not the original box art. It was just a blank DVD case, and you know how I feel about that, right?
That's a shame.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, now I gotta make my own box art.
Well, I mean, the Shantae one turned out to be good.
Yeah, it's true. So, it's all right though. It's pretty cheap. Not an expensive game, which is good because I thought it was gonna be, but. Because I'm a stickler.
No, it's weird because like this Shadow of Destiny was like one of those games where it's like it kind of fell under the radar. Nobody really knew about it. It didn't stand out.
Yeah, I'd never even heard of it until you said it.
I just happened to have it. Like my brother had gotten it. I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And I played it, and I was like, "Oh."
I had never even heard of this game, and it's definitely. It looks like it's got that, that early 2000s, late 90s, like Konami look, like kind of like the Silent Hill, like character designs, at least.
Like the models look like that way.
The models, yeah. like almost like anime, but a realistic looking anime type
Yeah, like Final
vibe.
Final Fantasy 7. No, not 7. Like Final Fantasy 10, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you can tell they're going for an anime look, but it's also they're trying to make it realistic.
Yeah.
I feel like Silent Hill, Final Fantasy,
It's a
that
nice
kind of
blend. It's a good, interesting art style, I guess.
yeah.
It fits
Mhm.
in from what they were going for. And like the whole
Yeah.
town takes place in like I guess it was like more Germany. Like that was the vibes
It
I
was
was getting.
it's a fictional German town. It's definitely German in the town of like uh Lebenbaum or something. Lebensbaum, I think that's what it was
Lebensbaum, yeah,
called.
yeah. All the names were like really like they sound foreign, like Germany or something like that. Belgium or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
like all the names
So
of the characters too, like the surnames. So like the
yeah,
main character's Ike Kush. It's like
Ike Kush. I always said
Kush.
Ike Kush,
Ike
rolling
Kush.
that Kush.
Yeah.
So this game's like it's an adventure game, but it's weird because this game has no combat at all,
Mm-mm.
and it's almost like a point and click game in a way, but it's 3D.
Yeah, it's like heavily story driven. And
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
basically you navigate yourself around trying to figure out. I guess it has puzzle elements to it because you have to figure out what
a
to do
little
next.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is definitely like it has puzzle elements akin to a point and click where you just have to you pick up items and you have to figure out, well, where do I use this? I have to use it at the right time and place.
Yeah.
It's definitely an adventure game. It has absolutely no combat. It's just a story driven game, and basically the story is you play as Ike, this guy who dies one day and just wakes up, and this genie is talking to him, and his name is Homunculus, is the genie's name, voiced by Charles Martinet, though the guy who voices Mario himself.
Wait, he was the voice actor for him?
Yeah,
I did not know
Homunculus
that.
is voiced by Charles Martinet,
Wow.
which you can't even tell. He does a great job for this character, and Homunculus is a genie who brings you back to life and gives you a time traveling like little book, kind of. Like I think he calls it a digipad.
Yep.
Digipad, yeah. And it's like a little tablet or book type of thing that just lets you travel back in time or forward in time to prevent yourself from dying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how every chapter is. It's a puzzle kind of where the beginning of the chapter, your character dies in a different way, and you have to take it upon yourself to travel back in time and forward in time and keep sometimes back and forth multiple times to change things and try to figure out a way to prevent yourself from dying.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool concept. I definitely dig that.
Yeah, especially back then, I loved that concept, like traveling back in time to just prevent your own death and things like that. I was like, whoa, it blew my mind. That's why it made such a huge impression on me.
Mm-hmm. It is super cool. I like it a lot. There's, you get shot, stabbed, poisoned, shoved off a roof. Is shoved in front of a car. There's all sorts of different ways where your character dies, and you just always have to figure out like the stabbing one, or no, I like the shooting one a lot, where you get shot and from a sniper in a tree, so you travel back in time before the tree was planted, and you stop the guy who planted that tree.
And he plants flowers instead. Yeah,
he plants flowers or a statue. I actually had him build a statue.
Oh, you made the statue.
You get to choose. Yeah. That way, the sniper can't be sitting in that tree. That prevent yourself from not getting sniped, or the stabbing one where it's like you get I got a frying pan, and you go back in time. You get a frying pan. You stick the frying pan on the back of your shirt. That way, you can't get stabbed in the back. So, or you get with the poisoning, you have to go get an antidote from that's not in your present day for some reason, only back in time. So you have to go back in time to get the antidote, and you have to do stuff like research it. You have to make sure the library gets built so that the book gets put into the town, so you can research it and stuff. So it's cool that you have to set up the chain of events for the things that you need by going back in time and altering.
Yeah, like seeing like the actual physical changes happen Like as soon as you go back to time, it was like, whoa, this was a museum. Now it's a library, and like no paintings is full of books. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it is cool, because you get to see that effect of what you did immediately when you travel between time, and there's a lot of cutscenes. The game is literally just like an interactive movie in a way.
Kind of like a visual novel, but a bit more to it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the kind of thing they're going for.
Like the only real gameplay is, picking up and collecting the items and walking around trying to figure out where to go next. You also have to find the energy units to keep your
to be able to time travel. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't have any, you can't travel back in time. And you are running on a time limit if you get to the point in time where you always have two clocks on the screen. If you're in the present time, it's just one. But if you travel back in time, you still have the present time on the screen. And if it gets to the point where you died in the present time, then it's game over. Because you end up dying in present time. So
yeah, it's like, so you go back in time, but time doesn't freeze in the future. It still keeps going. So you only go back a half an hour before your death. And in that meantime, you can travel to all these different timelines, but time is still going. It doesn't actually stop.
Right. And every little interaction you do, whether it's talking to, checking stuff or talking to an NPC or a character, it takes time off the clock. It says, like, time past 30 seconds.
It's still pretty generous with the amount of time it gives you.
Yes. I mean, you feel under a little bit of stress sometimes because you're like, shit. Like, I had a couple times where I'm like, what exactly do I do? It was never too difficult, but there was a couple times where I was kind of walking around aimlessly, like, what exactly do I have to do now? But I was always able to figure it out. And the graphics were okay. They did some cool stuff with the time periods, where if you went back to like the 1580s, it was like all black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like the 1800s. Everything was like sepia tone, or the early 1900s. I think it was like everything was like a sepia tone looking kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like, I like that as well. Like every different timelines, like as the further back you go into the past, the more like not colorless, but it's like obvious change in themes. Like you said, it was a sepia tone back in the 400 year difference.
It was like the 1900s kind of.
And then when you went to like only like a 20 or 40 year difference, it was like just black and white.
Yeah,
right?
The 1500s was black and white. But I think there was like the 1980 as well, like 20 years ago, where that was like, it was like in the winter time and it was snowing.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, that was the one I was talking about. Oh.
Yeah. So there was like 3 or 4 different time periods that you keep traveling in between.
But you always know in what time period you're in because of like the theme, like the filter they have on the screen.
Right. So, I mean, spoiler alert, I guess.
Oh yeah, we're going into heavy story stuff. Like
17 years old, so I'm sorry if you want to experience this game, go ahead. It's only 4 hours long.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it if you want like story kind of driven games.
I would say maybe 6 to 8 hours if you're trying to get all the endings because you got to replay through it.
There are
8 you can probably
endings?
make multiple. Yeah, there are a lot of different endings.
Yeah.
So I only got one ending, and then I looked it up because I was like, well, I want to see what's going on in this game. So, you can, if you want to play it, go ahead and play it, and we can put a timestamp, I guess, near the end when we're ranking it on the list when we're done talking spoilers because I kind of want to get into, the end, the storyline wise, what I thought, because we talked about the graphics and the voice acting a little bit. The voice acting's it's funny. There's not really a lot of music, just a lot of ambience.
Yeah, it's mostly ambience.
Yeah, it's nothing to write home about with the music section, but it fits. It makes sense. Also, there's a guy with a lot of cats. I like that guy.
Yeah, Eckert.
Mr. Eckert.
Did you bring the cat to like the daughter?
No.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, like you can bring it to the little girl that's in the 1950s or the black and white era.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. There's some cool stuff. Like I liked in the early 1900s when they thought I was like some sort of devil.
Oh yeah. What did you use? You use a phone or you use a lighter?
I used the lighter. I pulled out the lighter, and they're like, "Oh my god, he's got fire coming from his hand."
Yeah, I used the phone, and it was just like beep beep. It was like, "Oh my god, what is this sorcery?" I was like, "I can trap any of you in this tiny box." It's so good.
So, so the end of the game, you end up finding out, there's this kid, Hugo, is the main bad guy who was trying to kill you. So this is the thing that really confused me with time traveling games, right? Time traveling always gets, you can always find flaws in it. I feel like it's
easy to create a paradox. Yeah,
exactly. One of the things that left me confused at the end, because the kid was super into, when you first meet him early on in the game, he's very about, hey, are you a time traveling guy? He's like super interested in what you're doing. So the story is, he, ended up creating a digipad of his own in the future, and going back in time and giving it to his past self for some reason, I guess. To save his mom, I guess, was his main goal, because his mom is sick when you first meet him, and she ends up dying. Mm-hmm. So he wants to bring her back, and that's his main goal. And he wants to kill you because you supposedly you helped his father create Homunculus himself.
The genie, yeah.
The genie guy.
And he thinks that if the genie was never created, his mother would have been saved.
Right, which is a load of shit, and the kid is a dumb idiot. But what really got me, though, was I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, Hugo was trying to kill me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just, going along my day at the beginning of this game, and Hugo is there and trying to kill me. But what I want to know is if at that point in time I had not time traveled or experienced any of this, how? And only reason why this all happened was because Hugo tried to kill me. The only reason I was able to travel back in time was because Hugo tried to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, like, how did this all start? Because why would I have traveled back in time in the first place to make Hugo want to kill me?
That sums up every time traveling story. Is like, how did this all start if you started it?
Exactly. He wants to kill me because I travel back in time. That's the reason why I'm traveling back in time. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, and then you would have never gone back, and Homunculus would have been created, and yeah.
Exactly. It makes absolutely no sense.
You basically described every time traveling, like every time traveling argument everybody has about any story that has to do with time traveling.
Right. And the thing about time traveling, and people say it in real life too, is like, if time traveling was created, we would know about it. Because somebody would have traveled back in time already and told somebody.
And created a paradox.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing about time traveling storylines. They always get fucked up at some point.
I mean, you can only make so much sense until it starts getting too complicated and convoluted.
Yep. It's always interesting, but it always has plot holes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun. It's fun nevertheless. So there's different endings in this game, you said. What was your favorite ending?
My favorite ending was I really liked ending B, the one where Eckert jumps in and stops Hugo stops Hugo and saves like both Margaret and Hugo. But I think my favorite one was the one where you travel back in time, and instead of giving Dr. Wagner, the guy who creates the homunculus, the stone to create homunculus, you give it so he can heal his wife, and then that just cancels out the whole storyline. But I mean, every ending was so interesting though, because you have an ending where you find out that the mother was one of the characters in the game is a fortune teller.
Is a fortune
teller. Yeah, and you don't know that until like the end, that it's actually the mother that Hugo tried to resurrect previously but failed, and kind of created like a fake homunculus, or just managed to capture spirit to forever roam the earth in endless time. And she ends up actually killing her own son because of like the sin he committed of trapping a spirit to wander forever. And it's like, I think that's the only ending where Hugo actually dies. No, wait. There is another ending where Hugo dies. Where the homunculus...
Okay.
There's another ending where homunculus creates like a puppet demon, and he puts it in the image of his father, of Hugo's father. So he goes over and is like, son, stop this, come home, let's go home together. And he tricks him, and then he just kills both of them at the same time. Both the puppet and Hugo.
I guess I got a pretty normal ending.
You got ending B, you said, right? The one
I
with
got ending B, where they end up stopping Hugo.
with Eckert, yeah.
With Eckert. And then, they go back in time, Hugo apologizes, and then they return to the past, and then Ike is like, I'm gonna go to the bar.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, at that point, after dealing with all that shit. There's also a girl that you accidentally bring back in time at one point, but I don't know if you can. In my story, at least, though, in the gameplay I was doing, she just wanted to stay there. She's like, well, I like it here.
Yeah,
It's nice.
It's weird.
I think her name's Dana.
Yeah, the Dana. It's weird because did you actually uncover like the whole story between each character, like the whole backstory of Dana, the backstory of Margaret? Because
there was a thing with Homunculus switched them at that point.
Yeah. So Margaret, who you encounter like back in the 1940s or 400s, whenever it was, like the real past. She's actually from the future. She's Mr. Eckert's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And Dana, that you meet in the future, is actually from the past. She's like your ancestress. So like Homunculus did that swap to prevent Hugo from causing any trouble if he threatened to kill Margaret, because he thought Margaret was his actual sister when she's not, because she's from the future. Is somebody who's listened to this for the first time, he's not gonna have any clue what the fuck we're talking about right now.
Yeah, you gotta play the game.
Yeah,
you definitely gotta play the game. So it's an interesting game though. Like I said, I really like it. I like the murder mystery kind of situation you have with trying to figure out who killed you, and also preventing your death is fun.
And it was a good twist. Like I went back every time. Like when I first played this and beat it, I was like, are there multiple endings? And I tried different decisions, and they were. And I found out there were like multiple. Like I think the first time I played it, I beat it like 3 or 4 times. I got like 3 different endings. And then when I revisited it a couple of years later, I got the 5. I think I got 5 endings, and now that I went back to it and played again, I found out there were actually another 3 secret endings that you can only get if you complete all the other 5 endings. And I actually learned a lot more like the backstory of people than I knew in the past. So I was like, it still got me. Like, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, so Noah, now that we've talked about the game, where do you think it's supposed to go on the list?
I would want to put it number 15?
Number 15 below Animal Crossing, but above Super Mario 3D Land.
Like, I can recognize definitely that this game is really old and the age shows.
Uh-huh.
But it's kind of gave me the same similar experience to what Phoenix Wright did. Like, the story really kept me interested, and I wanted to find out everything about the story, like every aspect of it, and I didn't want to miss anything. And it introduced like a really interesting concept for its time, especially. Like, there were not any games like it.
Yeah. I think it's definitely an interesting concept. I like it a lot. But I disagree with you a little bit. My thought was probably number 19 or 18. I think Until Dawn, because when I'm scrolling up the list, going through it, trying to figure out where I want it, Until Dawn is kind of a similar game in a way, where it's like an adventure game, very story driven. And I think Until Dawn is a bit better of a game than this, with gameplay wise and storyline wise. Because Until Dawn has more gameplay than this game. They're both, like I said, both action games, right?
Yeah.
But Until Dawn has a lot of QTEs that keep you at least engaged. Where this game, you could literally put the guy on the controller at some points for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But in Until Dawn, you can't put down the controller, or you're gonna.
You have to be constantly on your
it's
toes.
Bad time. Yeah, you're gonna die. So it keeps you engaged even throughout. And they both are similar, where lots of story, lots of cutscenes, multiple endings and different twists that you can do. But I think Until Dawn kind of surpasses this game in every way. And I think like the flaw with this game is the story is it's definitely interesting, and I love the concept of saving yourself. But I think near the end the story got a little bit too convoluted and complex for itself. Which, I mean, it's time travel and shit, so it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I think that does take me out of it a little bit when I'm starting to have to be like, what?
Yeah, you're trying to figure things out on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can agree to that, I guess. So you want to put on 18.
I mean, but with Alundra, though, it's like...
Yeah.
Alundra, what do you think about Alundra in this game compared to each other?
Alundra in this game? Well... It's hard because they're both games that I really love. It's like... I think they're both games I suggested as well. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if it's a matter of question which one I would rather play, I guess... I don't know, I've beaten... Alundra definitely has a lot more action and more interaction. It's definitely a lot... Yeah, it has a lot of better points. I mean, story-wise, I guess...
It's definitely harder. It's a tougher game.
Yeah, it's more challenging.
Game. So you get...
Yeah.
Do you get more gameplay? Would you rather play Alundra than Shadows of Destiny or Shadows of Memories?
Yeah, but Shadow of Memories, after you've gotten pretty much every ending, there's not that much replayability, I guess.
Right, and I mean, even with getting every ending, that shouldn't even, especially if you made multiple save files, it probably wouldn't take that long. Like, it's a 4-hour game. It's definitely an enjoyable 4 hours, but and even if you're trying to get all the endings, I would say it might only be like...
Yeah, Alundra is definitely, I think, is better. Should be higher than Shadow, so I'll put it just below Alundra. I think that's a safe place.
Okay, I agree with that, and I think it's better than Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
I think that's a good spot.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
So
we did it.
Number 19, Shadow of... you know what? We'll put Shadow of Memory.
Yeah.
We'll put that because you picked the game and you're from me. I think Shadow of Memory makes more sense. I think they both make sense with the titles, but I think Shadow of Memories makes a little bit more sense than Shadow of Destiny. Because if it really was your destiny, you're changing it. So is it
That's probably why they call it Shadow of Destiny.
Right, but I mean, they both make sense, but Shadow of Memories, we can call it that on the list. So, with that, it being at number 19, the games around it, we have number 17, Until Dawn, number 18, Alundra, number 19, Shadow of Memories, number 20, Nintendo Land, and number 21, Crash Bandicoot, the OG original Crash Bandicoot game. So that is where it's going on the list. We are wrapping up. We are getting to the end of the episode. But before we do, we got a couple things we got to plug, including next week's game. Not next week, but the next Jump Up Supercast Game Club game.
What's it gonna be?
It's gonna be picked by me. And Noah, you got me on a time traveling hook right now.
Oh.
So I'm keeping the theme of time traveling.
I think I know what's coming.
I'm gonna pick a game that I've always wanted to play, Blinks the Time Cat, for the original Xbox.
That was not what I was expecting. I was expecting Time Splitters.
No, I do love Time Splitters as well. But I always wanted to play that stupid game, Blinks the Time Cat. I don't know what it is.
I've not heard of that one.
And the game was actually recently added to the backwards compatibility of the Xbox One. So you can play the original Xbox disc on your Xbox, the original Xbox disc. You can put it in your Xbox and play it. So that's super cool. And I think it might look better. I think they upgraded the games to look even better on the Xbox One.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So that's what I want to play. I want to play Blinks the Time Cat. I think that's what it's called. Or maybe it's called something else. No, it's called Blinks the Time Cat. That's definitely what it's called. The official subtitle. So that's what we're going to be playing
That
next week.
sounds...
It's all...
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a downer, but that sounds as much good quality as Bubsy the Cat.
Well, we'll see. It's a time-traveling cat, so hopefully better than Bubsy.
I mean, it's hard to be worse than Bubsy, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's a mascot platforming kind of game. I've always wanted to play, so I never get around to it, so we're going to do it. So thank you for listening to the Game Club this week. And don't forget, super important, to rate us on iTunes. Follow us on whatever you're listening to us on, whether it be YouTube or SoundCloud or any podcast service. Make sure you give us a follow. Make sure you give us a share. That always helps. And we also have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you definitely follow us on Twitter and Facebook to make sure you can see when the episodes go live. We'll post them on there. And on Twitter, we're also always posting when we're going live on our Twitch channel. We do stream every week, a couple days a week, usually Monday through Thursday we stream. We do the Golf Club Mondays. We do Will plays whatever he wants on Tuesdays. I play games on Wednesdays. Noah and Saf play Terraria every Thursday. And then we have other streams too, randomly in between, so it's a fun time. Sometimes I'll probably be playing Blinks the Time Cat on there, so you got to check that out. You get to see my impressions before we talk about it, so it's going to be fun. Make sure you do that. Make sure you follow us on all those platforms. And I just want to thank Noah for picking a cool game for us to play.
Yay.
I definitely enjoyed it.
Me too.
Look forward to the next game, and look forward to a couple weeks from now when we all talk about Blinks the Time Cat. So, this is Brandon and also Noah signing off. Go play some video games, have a good time, and enjoy yourselves, guys.
Catch you later.